Okay, let's review the audio that we're going to be setting up our animations to. We have all these animations that have been brought over from Unreal Engine, with which we can stitch together a sequence. So this clip is from the 11-second club, which is
How
an
did you get in
amazing
here? The
resource.
window, obviously. Do you attack everyone who comes in here? Seems like a weird thing to do, but live and let live.
You can't just break into my apartment.
Well, clearly I can. I mean, I just
I'll
did.
call the police.
If you haven't already seen 11-second club, it's been around since I was a tiny tot in the industry back, when dinosaurs used to roam the earth. And it's just this incredible resource where they post new audio clips every month. You'll see animators from all over the games and animation industries, 2D, 3D, all contributing and giving each other support and advice. It's a great place to post your work in progress and compete every month. You get feedback and criticism from peers and mentors, and just accelerates your learning. Okay, so let's create a cinematic device. And that's going to hold our sequence animations. I'm going to go into Fortnite and search cinematic sequence and drag that into the scene. I'm going to create a new level sequence, which is where I can load my characters in and start loading all my animations. Go new level sequence, and we'll call this LS for level sequence. LS animations 11-second club anim. I turn loop playback and autoplay on, so when I start my Fortnite session it will actually play. Let's bring in our characters. Let's select the seated fellow here and go add actor to sequencer. Now we can't actually add animations to him immediately. This character definition in sequencer kind of acts as a container. You'll see there's no animations currently associated with it, even though he is clearly a Fortnite character. So we have to add a skeletal mesh component. And even then, that's still just a container. It doesn't actually have a skeleton. So let's add a skeletal mesh asset to our skeletal mesh component. And then we will switch that to the FN mannequin. And now all of our animations should show up. Okay, let's go have a look at some of our animations. I'm going to see if I have a sit to stand animation available. So I'm searching sit stand, and sure enough, here's a bunch of transition animations from sitting to standing. There's a few different options. I'm just having a look. The arms crossed looks just a bit funny. But like for each of these, there will be a sister animation. So arms crossed would have an arms crossed looping animation that I can transition from. So I'm just looking for a CA position that I like. And the cross arms looks a bit funny, but the animation clip is... the character is a bit weird, and he's a bit funny, so I think the cross arms kind of fits. It's a bit of a strange kind of weirdo vampire guy just sitting in this apartment. So let's bring that in. And I'm going to bring my from seating to standing animation and figure out where I want that transition to happen. And then we're going to bring in its sister looping animation. Of course, it'd be much more useful to have my little time slider dongle at the start of the frame range, just so it actually comes in at frame 0. Here we go. So here's my cross arms sit stand. I'll move that a bit forward. And let's bring in the audio track so we know when we want this to happen. It's going to ask you to change the format and just give Unreal whatever it needs. And I'll load in the audio track that I had uploaded earlier. And then I'm going to drag my timeline marker to the end of the animation of the audio track, so that will be the end of my animation. Let's find a point at which it makes sense for him to stand up and acknowledge the other guy as he walks into the room. So I think I kind of want him to stand before he starts talking, just before he starts talking about the window. There we go. He's a very strange looking guy, but it's a strange looking audio clip, so there you go. Let's go find the looping version of this particular animation so we know what we're transitioning from. There we go, cross arms loop. And we'll bring that to the start of the animation. So idling in a super awkward way. And there he goes, smooth transition from sitting to standing. Cool. I'm going to just reduce that first initial animation so it just ends as the next one begins. Okay. It looks so strange. Okay, so we're going to add a transform to this character so that we can just scooch him back in the chair a bit more. It's very difficult to move a character device once you've added it into Sequencer. Sequencer likes to break very easily. So you're better off just adding a transform track to reposition characters, and of course you can keyframe their positions as well. Okay, there we go, from sitting to standing. Let's get the rest of our animation in. I like to use a bunch of different animations to basically block out or pre-visualize an animation before refining it further. I mean, I could export it here from Sequencer and take it into Maya or Blender or what have you. So I'm kind of looking for something right now that's going to be a bit more expressive, something that says like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Why are you so astonished I've crawled through your window? You're acting like this is a surprising thing. Do people not go through your window every day? How strange of you to act surprised. This is a perfectly logical, normal thing to do. So let's I'm going to check out the dialogue animations. And I know there's a couple of intense ones. I'm just really curious to see what they look like. Calm intense. Calm intense seems funny. There we go. Hey, this is I like this. He's sort of pointing in the right direction towards the window, which fits the dialogue. So let's go grab that, and we're gonna do a bit of animation blending. So I want to have a bit of a seamless blend between his transitionary standing animation here to that dialogue animation. And Unreal's got some really powerful blending tools that we'll show you. So first, let's bring that track in, and we can just show what it looks like with just an overlap, which is just sort of like an additive layering of animation data, one on top of the other, as opposed to like a true blending, which is going to interpolate mathematically between the positions of the different bones. So there's a bit of a jump here. A straight up layer is not going to get the job done. We definitely want to do a bit of a blend to lerp or linearly interpolate between the two animations. So we're going to actually Control X that animation. Very specifically, you want to cut it. So Control X, select the same track where our previous animation is, and move the time slider dongle just past that track. And then we're going to Control V to paste our animation onto the same track. That allows us to drag one animation on top of the other. And you can see that there's a sort of like infinity loop shows the blending that is occurring between these tracks. And you see that that's gotten rid of our jump. His feet still kind of swim a little bit as he settles into position, which is like a world space 0 right below him, but we can keyframe that. when we come back and do polishing, we can keyframe his positioning in space there. And but at this point, I say let's continue on and block out the rest of the animation. Sometimes it's better just to have everything blocked out because you still might be making big changes. There's no point adding polish and keyframes to something that you're going to end up cutting later on. Get your entire block out in, and then go through and polish what remains. Okay. Just sort of making sure that the dialogue lines up with when he's indicating towards the window. So that is indicative of being synchronized. Okay. I think I might actually increase the playback speed of the animation just to make it a bit punchier. So you can just go into the properties of this animation and increase that play rate so it's faster or slower, etc. Faster in my case. We'll try 1.5 because this is a really calm animation, like it's sedate. Okay, that's much more evocative. That's a snappier motion that sort of fits the dialogue a bit better. There we go. Okay, let's grab all of our animations and just once again just tweak it a bit to try and make sure it's lining up with that audio beautifully. Okay, so he stands up when our dude comes in through the door. Okay. Okay, let's get something even more expressive and intense for, like, do you attack everybody who crawls through your window? You act as if people crawling through your window is unusual. Okay, there's one over here that was really expressive, if I remember correctly. Or, those, back in those dialogue animations, we could go see what the intense dialogue animations look like. Let's go have a quick look. Just quickly, just checking out if any of those expressive animations are immediately apparent in my generic animation pack. All right, back in dialogue animations now. Let's bring up that intense animation. Oh yeah, I like that accusatory pointing. I think that fits. Okay, so let's bring that in, and we're going to do another blend. Again, just to make sure that we're interpolating between the bones, and it looks like it's all one animation as opposed to stitched together between pieces. This is just such a fast and useful way of blocking out animations very quickly for your initial pre-visualization of a cinematic or animation. Okay, we're going to load in intense medium, as in medium length. So it's an intense animation of a medium length. And we'll do the same thing again. So we'll cut this and paste it into the animation track. And I'm just trying to see what it looks like if it's just overlapping. There still is a little bit of popping. It's not super elegant. So once more, I might as well blend it. Let's bring it forward a bit. And yeah, it's the popping. Same thing as previously. We're going to want to cut and paste this onto the line of the animation track we're blending to. So once again, that's Control X for cut. Move the dongle until it's after the animation track that you're blending onto. It can be a bit finicky and wants to slide up or down, but like you really want to make sure that you're getting this little infinity wave here. That shows that the blending is happening one into the other. And we'll paste that in. Oh, it's already got its blend from the previous attempt at blending. Strange that it would hold onto that in the Windows cache. Okay, it's a bit finicky today, but let's get that at least blended on top, one on top of the other, or blended between each other. Okay, so I'm going to add in this drunk talking animation over the top of his final animations, just to add a bit of flavor to his movements. Once again, I'm gonna blend it completely because I really want the two animations to interpolate between each other. So create a seamless blend all the way back to the start of this animation. And let's see what that looks like. I just think it just gives him a bit more personality. Okay, the next step is to actually edit the animation that this starts with. I want to bring in Control Rig to edit the rotation of his head. Just have him turn and acknowledge the other character as he walks into the room. Control Rig is a way of it allows us to go in and add rotations to the individual bones in the skeleton and create a bit of more of a custom animation. Now, like, I'd love to actually just drop Control Rig into Sequencer and animate the bones directly here, but that has broken my sequencer in the past. So by all means, if anyone watching this now or in the future has found a solution to that, please let me know. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to take this initial animation and we're going to edit it. So we'll create a duplicate of that and we'll edit the duplicate with Control Rig, and then we'll save it out as a new animation and replace the previous animation in our sequencer. So I'm just going to go find that crossed arm animation loop, and I'll just duplicate this. I'll leave it with, loop 1. That's fine. And I'm going to open this up. And up at the very top where it says Edit in Sequencer, we go to Bake to Control Rig. And I've got this Control Rig here that I brought over from Unreal Engine. So just really quickly, I'm going to make sure I've got Reduce Keys turned on so we don't get any floating keys between keyframes. And then hit Bake to Control Rig. And so this, I'll close this down and show you what this looks like. This Control Rig from the game animation sample in Unreal Engine 5 is it's beautifully set up by professionals. You've got all the control curves you might want to create hand animation. And in that game animation sample, there is a UEFN skeleton. So you can retarget the Control Rig to the UEFN skeleton and then migrate that over to UEFN as I've done here, which makes it very easy to retarget to the FN mannequin and then be able to set up animations to play on any of your Fortnite characters. Okay, so I'm going to just expand this. You can see in my control, you see I've got keyframes on all the different bones associated with this animation. It's baked it all out for me. I can now go in and edit those keys. First, I just have to find which controller is actually controlling the movement of my head. The neck controllers were not it. It created some very strange movements. But the head controller specifically, that gives me the rotation and the tilt that I want. So I want to set a keyframe at the start of the animation. Of course, there's existing keys already, so I need to grab all of these and delete those keyframes, and then create a new head animation for this this looping seated animation. So I'm to start with, I might just have him with his head tilted down, like he's contemplating whatever strange vampiric things he might contemplate after breaking into someone's apartment through the window, as you do. About a fourth of the way through, I set another keyframe just to sort of hold the position, so I'm not interpolating from one position at the start of the animation until I'm ready for my next position. I might turn just slightly, that way he's not like completely stiff-necked through the start of the animation. And then he's gonna, like, about halfway through, he'll raise his head, like, he might have heard the character coming from down the hallway, so he's turned to look in that direction. And by about 3/4 through the animation, he'll be completely turned to acknowledge the other guy that he's talking to, which just feels a bit more natural than just having his head pointed forward the entire way during the conversation, which is not that's not a human thing to do. Humans sort of unnaturally look at each other while they talk. So I'm just copying the same key frame at the beginning and end of the sequence, just in case I want to loop it later. Cool. I'm going to save this, and that's going to save over the duplicated animation that I created earlier. But please note that currently it would not validate if I tried to run a Fortnite session. I would need to actually bake that animation out for it to be able to validate. So close this, and I'm going to go back to the cinematic device. And we're just going to replace this seated loop with the duplicate seated loop that we created before. And just take a moment to sort of arrange that and make sure that it all stitches cleanly. And what I'm going to do next is, like, before I move on, I'm just going to jump into Fortnite and just make sure that everything's playing correctly. It's a good idea to sanity check and make sure that, every time you do one character or any major operations, you just run a Fortnite session and make sure things are still running smoothly. That way, if it fails to validate or something goes wrong, the work that you've done recently, you can go back over and sort of logically figure out what might be causing the validation error. Whereas if you wait until, a few hours or a few days down the track, you might not know which thing you did during that animation process that could have caused the error. So let's just make sure that this is playing, and then we'll wrap this up, this first part in this series. Okay, so it is playing in Fortnite. I did get the validation error that I thought I would, with the control rig having not been baked out yet. So just go back and show you what I did to solve that. And obviously, our skeletal mesh is showing up in the character here. So you can delete that out of Sequencer. I would just wait until you're done adding animations to the character before you delete the skeletal mesh that allows you to add animations to the character. Let's go back to Unreal. Okay, so we're back in Unreal now, and you can see in my sequencer that it is a new animation track again, or a new animation clip again for that opening animation sequence. So I have this is the baked version, and I'll just pop over to the show you where the error was coming from. So it was failing to validate because the previous animation that had been saved was still referencing this control rig sequencer. And those associations between that driver and this control rig was causing Fortnite to kind of throw up its hands and say, nah, I don't want to deal with this. So what I had to do is right click on the top level animation container and go bake animation. So and that saves out a distinct animation file that has no references to anything that Fortnite can't handle or doesn't want to handle. So you just right click on that sort of top level container here, and just go bake animation sequence, and you save that to whatever your custom animations folder is, and give it some meaningful name like A&M for animation underscore something something, etc., etc. And then back in your cinematic device sequencer, you can just replace the edited animations with that baked animation. And once you do that, it should validate, and you should be able to launch your Fortnite session just to make sure everything's working the way it's meant to work. Okay, so that's where I'm going to stop this first part of this series. And so in the next part, we'll go through triggering our animations. I'm also, in subsequent videos, I'm going to take you through how to access Unreal Engine animations from whatever version of Unreal and get them set up in such a way that they'll talk to, they'll retarget to and talk to the Fortnite rig with like no errors and no validation problems, and allow you to load it onto the FN mannequin, which means that you can play any of these animations on a Fortnite character. Same goes for Mixamo and stuff like that. So, catch you next time.